Sailing through Alaska is beyond description.
Big sandwich.
It goes on dry and vanishes in to keep you drier. Drier than... It's remarkable. Ultra, secret. This is it.
It really works.
Strong enough for a man.
But it's made with ultra dryness for you.
Strong enough for a woman.
Kids love Campbell's chicken noodle soup.
Pass it down.
And now we've added 33% more chicken.
Not hard at all.
So now there's more to go around.
I never knew there was chicken in this soup.
I love having...
Happy Day. Love that program. My favorite program.
When he said he was wrong about something,
But even
he
then,
couldn't bring himself to say the word.
Yeah.
Hey, while we're here, Tony, let me just talk to Tony about a few things we do today, so I won't waste time, okay? Tony, you're going to go on what's called an investigative search here. On one of the PCs back in customer service, in one of the directories, you're going to find something called map-link. Out there. I would, if I had to start somewhere, it would be Lawrence PCs, because that's the last place I saw it.
I think I have it on mine somewhere.
Aha, somebody's got that machine. We're gonna
And how many copies of this do we have?
I'll take a
Down from
picture.
your office, like a
Dick,
green
what kind
room.
of music would you like at the Christmas party?
Jazz.
Jazz.
Oh, no.
No, I don't care.
Anybody in particular?
Brad.
Anybody have a vote for country yet?
Anything but. Voted in.
We have an anything but country.
Anything but country? Okay. That works.
Chris, look at that.
Oh, I love it.
We have some yawning.
Stuff. Okay. Here to talk about compensation plans, the incentive compensation plans for 1996, and mainly to answer questions that people might have. But maybe what I'd like to do is start by giving you a little bit of overview. We don't have any overheads or anything, but kind of talk about the basic philosophy of the plan, and then a couple of key points. I'm going to talk both about Carfax's plan and NRBUS's plan, and there are some fundamental similarities as well as fundamental differences, so I'll try to describe a little bit of that. But the basic idea that Blackburn has behind this compensation plan is that everyone in the company ought to have part of their compensation tied to the financial performance of the company they work for. And salespeople naturally have that because salespeople get paid commissions on the sales they make. Managers tend to, in most companies, have some sort of bonus plan based on financial results. But in Blackburn, what I wanted to do is have everybody involved in some way or other with incentive compensation, and to hopefully make that a reasonably significant part of something. And if I had an ideal scenario over time, I'd rather have the company paying more as a percentage of someone's overall compensation through incentive than through base salary. I think the advantage of that is ultimately the company's able to pay more, and also it avoids a situation where we end up increasing everyone's base and having no incentive, and then in a situation where the company has a bad year and we have to make hard decisions about having to let people go. So a lot of companies have taken the approach, and we have too, that we'd like to have the whole company involved in sharing with the success and also reducing the risk when we're less successful. So that's sort of the basic philosophy. We really would be happy, I wouldn't be in, but I think Blackburn management too, would be happy to pay out a lot of money in the incentive compensation plan. It just means we're doing well as a business. So that's really the philosophy behind it. Regarding mechanics, these plans, both of them, particularly the NRBUS one, is quite complicated in sort of the mechanics of the plan. And I think you actually ought to, in a way, almost ignore the mechanics. But I want to talk a little bit about the mechanics, and then at the end tell you how I would really look at the plans, if I were in your shoes, and really a way to, kind of track how well you're doing. Really, what the mechanics are about in both plans is there's really a two-step process. One is a pool of incentive money is created based on financial performance. So I'm even going to write this down. Incentive pool is step one. tied to how well each company does. And in the case of UDS NRB, it's a little different between Carfax, UDS, NRB. In the case of UDS NRB, what we've done is, last year we said, we set 3-year targets, and we said, we think the company ought to at least do this much, and if it does better than that, we're going to give you a percentage of what it does better. And the real advantage, and Carfax doesn't have this, but there's a reason for it. The real advantage of setting a 3-year set of goals is that if you have a particularly good year, what usually happens in most companies is what I call a ratchet up effect. Hey, you had a great year, so now what the company owners or managers want is, oh, we expect you to do that and better. And we said, nah, we don't like that. Bill in particular doesn't like that idea at all. He says, if you've had a great year, and you shouldn't be penalized for it by the next year setting that target all the higher. So in UDS NRB's case, I don't want to go through the numbers. Basically, we have 1, 2, 3-year targets, and there's different level targets, and those are fixed. So even though UDS, in particular, last year had a terrific year, its target for the second year was like way below what it did this year before, but that wasn't changed. And I think that's a nice feature, is to set those targets out in advance. And then the way that the incentive pool is created for UDS NRB is really to look at how we did against those targets and against a certain percentage that you get in terms of the money. In Carfax's case, in Missouri, we don't know enough about Carfax's business to tell you the truth to set 3-year goals. It's just too wacko of a business right now to really know what we're doing. I mean, Kathy, again, I just can't depend on her for anything. I really would have preferred to set 3-year goals, again, to avoid the ratchet up effect, but I really wasn't in a position to do that. I just didn't know enough. So instead, with Carfax, we set a different kind of financial goals that have to just do with how fast our revenues are growing, as well as a little bit to do with how we do in terms of our profits. So it's a different set of goals. It's really actually a little bit easier to understand the Carfax goals than the UDS NRB goals to some extent. But in either case, I'm just trying to make it kind of quick, there's an incentive pool that's created based on the performance of the company. Then, the second step is basically sharing or splitting that pool up. And, right? Splitting up the pool, or dividing up the pool, however you want to look at it. And in this case, the concept I really want to get across is, in a sense, you guys are like, anybody involved in this pool, in this incentive plan, are like shareholders. You really get shares in the pool, and your shares are these bonus points. And there are several ways that you get bonus points. One is, we generally tie it to your salary, and you typically get a point per $1,000 of your salary. But even that, I got to be careful about, is a little bit arbitrary. In the long run, the key thing is, what's your share of the pool? And we might change how we divide up, how we calculate the number of points you have. But what's key is, what portion of the pool you have. And it's likely, and this is just like a company operating, it's likely that as you grow, your portion of the pool will probably decrease because there's more people to share in the pool. But the overall size of the pool will change. It's just like the way a stock operates in a company. When a company issues more shares, and you're a shareholder, you might say, I'm getting less, but in fact they're issuing more shares because the business is growing and they need more money to grow the business or more resources to grow the business. So this idea, and this is really what I hope you can get into the idea of this is very much like a stock plan. I'm having trouble using that word because it's not a security and you know that. But it's really very much like as a company, performance improves, you have a share of that performance, and that share should be hopefully worth more over time. So the idea here is that you end up, with some number, let's say 100 cubits, $100 in that pool, and there's let's say 100 shares out there, so each share becomes, and this is the key, simplifying each share is worth $1. If there's 100 shares and the pool is 100, each share is worth $1. So if you happen to have 5 shares, you'd have $5. And what I've discovered in thinking about this plan, and a lot of we've given out a lot of information about the plan and how it's calculated, is the most important simplifying thing to think about, and frankly, it's all I really think about, is what's a bonus point worth? So you know how many bonus points you have, that's right in your plan, and what is the value of points? And in each of the compensation plans for you guys and for Carfax put out, we put a little table in that said, and under different financial results, these are what bonus points are worth. And what I've decided to do this year, and it's going to be kind of an experiment, there's some risks to it, is on a quarterly basis, I'm going to ask the people, the managers who are running each business, to give me their forecast for how they're going to do for the year. And maybe that's going to be different than budget. Frankly, it typically is different than budget. And then once I have that forecast, I'm going to publish for everybody to see what the expected value of your points are. So the danger of that is that people are going to say, if that value goes down, later on, well, you told me it was going to be worth 40, and it ended up only being worth 30. I said, well, we guessed wrong. And it's very much like stock tables in a newspaper. A stock price changes all the time based on the expectations of how it's going to do. And I thought that it would be helpful to give everyone, during the course of the year, kind of our best guess on how the points, how the value of the points are doing. And I'm hoping what that will do is a couple things. One, maybe simplify the plan a little bit so it boils it down to what you're really going to get paid on. And also I hope, because one of the things we're trying to do with the plan is to get people to understand and to focus on financial performance of the company and to care about it and to realize that everybody in the company has an impact on financial performance. Absolutely it does. And the decisions that you make day in and day out can really affect financial performance. So if you're looking at that stock price, then you ultimately tie it back to, well, why is, if it was supposed to be 40 and now it's 35, you might say, well, what's going on? Is it because our expenses are too high? Is it because this product's not working well? Hopefully you start asking some questions about the plan and then, take some actions that maybe affect that stock price. And I think I at one point in time worked at a company, MCI, and was there in the early days, and they had a stock plan. And we had these little Quotron monitors. Quotron is a stock service. And I swear, particularly some of the early people had like thousands of shares. There were secretaries there had thousands of shares in the They would walk by my office. My office was sort of near the Quotron terminal. They must have walked by the office 5 times a day checking out the stock price. And it was, in a way, it was kind of ridiculous, but it also, in a way, is a little bit of what we're trying to accomplish here, which is to make people aware of, what our performance is and aware that they can have an impact on it and, somehow quantify that. And, if it looks like, at this stage, I don't want to sort of do it on a monthly basis, let alone a daily basis. We're not kind of in that scale of a business. I figure if I do it on a quarterly basis, and maybe, again, we have some sort of quarterly meetings too, we can talk a little bit about what's affecting the value of the bonus plan and the bonus points, but that may, make it easier to get focused on financial performance. So, those are a lot of general comments, but again, I walked away with the idea, and then I want to field any questions you have, the idea that we're trying to create an incentive pool. It's created based on financial performance. You get a share of that, and that we will, as a company, try to do a better job of communicating the value of that share throughout the year. And I know one kind of question people have asked me is, well, how come sometimes points are different in different companies, the value of points? In a way, it almost doesn't matter because in some cases, there are more points given up to make up for that difference in value. It's impossible. So all the points are going to have equal value to start with across the different companies. What really matters is your earnings value and try to do a setup so that the total bonus value is roughly equivalent across the companies. Although if a company is, much more successful in terms of its profitability, it's going to have higher value points. And that's sort of the notion of it. Particularly in the case of ESMB, where we set up 3-year goals. By the third year, if we're way ahead of those 3-year goals, those points could be worth 2, 3, 4 times what we expected them to be, and we'd be happy with that. So that, what are the questions that you've gotten about the plan?
I think that you covered it. I don't think people understood how the points worked and that. I mean, it was very basic questions that I received, so.
Again, I could get into, although I'd be reluctant to, the specific calculations of the points. And there's, it's not all that complicated, to tell you the truth, but, it kind of looks complicated, particularly in the case of UDS NRB. One thing we did try to do with UDS NRB is to tie the two companies together a little bit. So UDS does very well, they'll help NRB, NRB does very well, they'll help UDS. They're kind of tied in together because they tend to serve the same country, so there's a little bit of crossover. Carfax is independent of that. Although people who are involved in finance administration, like a Lon or a Tammy, and their groups would have points across all three companies, and those are points across all three companies, so that they're tied. But I'd also be glad, to address sort of specific calculation issues too. Believe it or not, I have a little model on my computer. I don't even think about it. I just press in, what's the financial performance, bing, bing, and it spits out what's the value of the point. It really boils down to that kind of thing. So, questions, suggestions, comments? Do people understand this idea? Do you like the idea of us publishing a quarterly expected value of a bonus point? You won't shoot me if we get it wrong?
Can't guarantee that, but.
What was that?
Can't guarantee
that.
that.
That's the danger, is, yeah, but that's, hey, financial performance is financial performance. My other concern about publishing the results, but we do it anyway, is if it's really negative, if for some reason we don't think we're going to do that well, sometimes that's discouraging. But I think, hey, we're all adults, and I'd rather tell you what's going on and let people work hard to fix the problem than to pretend there's not a problem if we don't have good financial performance. Now, luckily, this quarter we have great financial performance, so it's easy to publish the information.
Yeah, I think it would be especially important if things weren't going as well as we expected, that there's some kind of explanation. Don't just publish the number and then everybody freaks out, wigs out, and says, geez, we're not going to hit our target, and so why care about it? Give some reasons why we didn't hit the target or what we can do to compensate for that.
Idea.
Because we need to make adjustments mid-year. So.
That's a good idea. And then I would also urge people, because Eric and Nancy and myself, we do kind of a high-level analysis of that, there may be details that you'd want to dig into. Let's say, for example, one of the reasons we wouldn't do well, some new product isn't growing as fast as it could. Well, then, you might want to have a separate type of discussion of, well, what can we do about that new product, or those kind of things. But yeah, I think putting it out without some explanation, particularly on the negative side, is going to cause concern. Probably when we're on the positive side, people just say, hey, that's great. But even that, there's hopefully some things we can do to make it more positive.
Will there continue to be discretionary points? I know in our plan there were last year.
Yeah. And I didn't get into a little bit about in terms of how points are given out. Yeah, we try to do this principle of a point per your salary. In addition, there are discretionary points. Well, I do really like this.
Got a split. 5-0.
What we have done is, in addition, in each company left a certain amount of points, and I like to leave as many as I can, but sometimes they're just not there, that are divvied out at the end of the year, so that if someone really goes above and beyond in terms of their contribution to the business, they get not only the points they have in their explicit bonus plan, but they get extra points. And I know, for example, UBS last year, we said it did a good year, those extra points were worth a lot of money, and that's great. So, there is, what we try to do is sort of have a base level of points that everyone gets based on their compensation, and then we leave, a certain amount that, becomes, a special award for someone who's made a particular contribution. And, that each company has that available. Oh, one other thing is, you know, when we have this pool, and during the year, which is kind of interesting, you know, people do leave, you know, for a variety of reasons. They move, whatever, and they have points. And when they leave, those points come back to the company. And company, they come back to the employees. The company doesn't keep those points. So at the end of the plan, all the money is paid out to employees, even though maybe a person has a point. So what happens is those become like discretionary points, and they're split, they're given out to employees. So I would encourage other employees to leave. That's not the point of that. But it is this year, you know, and every year, it's natural, there's a certain amount of turnover, and those points redound back to the company. So yeah, we should go out and figure out, there's a lot of points, get rid of them right before the end of the year, so that, so they have, and what we've done in general with new employees, unless you here for the entire year, we tended to not
Entire
have,
fiscal year, just mentioned
entire
that.
fiscal year, right? We tended not to have new employees participate in the plan on a base basis, but they may be eligible for some discretionary points. But I think that the idea behind the plan is, you know, you need to be here for a full year and contribute, you know, fully during the year to be eligible for the plan. Tammy, did you have another question?
Oh, no, I was just mentioning the fiscal year part instead of,
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
When I say year, it's fiscal. Okay. Short, sweet, any other questions? Great. See y'all later out there. Everyone say hi to the officers out there. Hi, guys.
Kelly.
Folks, don't record me hard at work, woman.
There's Kelly looking at the catalog.
Hard at work.
Hard at work.
Oh, they've got the prettiest gift wrap in the whole world.
Here's our little Christmas tree that looks really sad.
No, it doesn't. It's getting there. It's improving.
I'm going to go do a close-up on Kelly's
My ornaments.
ornaments.
My handmade ornaments there.
Yeah, but I like how someone put the redskin right in front of it.
That's okay. I got 4 more.
And what do you think about this? The Market Reporter disc. Did Chris Turak do that, or did you do it, Kelly?
No, well, not me. It was a creative mind who did that.
There's our tree. Are you keeping you awake there, Kel? Well, this is our donations for our family. As you can see, the boxes are not yet overflowing.
They're getting there, though.
Going to continue our tour.
Carfax customer service.
Those other two run right now with a 1 mile lane. Make sure they're correct.
Stop.
And also one going as well. Is Frankfurt Hospital, where's that located? Mr. Jameson, yeah, we'll get to
Paula, how are you?
What are you doing?
Videotaping.
Don't you know I have you on camera?
Yeah, that's why I just got you for 1 second.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom, you making a sale, ma'am?
Yeah. Is this video?
Yes.
Oh. Who's it for?
It's, everyone. Gonna send it to all the other offices. Wendell, say hello to our other offices. Chicago and Los Angeles. There's Wendell.
How you doing?
Let's get the look at this beautiful stocking I made. Hey, Guy Hayes.
What? All right, do you have a video camera there?
I have a video camera here.
You know, I really don't look too good on video camera.
How do you feel,
look
Guy?
very good not on video, do you?
Well, today I don't look good anyhow.
Nah, of course you do. $1 million. It's a new hair.
How are you feeling, Guy?
Doing all right.
You feeling better?
Yeah, I am.
Guy was a little bit feeling under the weather this morning. Why are you laughing, Guy?
Well, because I kind of, you know, I feel kind of,
On display?
yeah, I feel on display.
Good.
So where's this thing going to anyhow?
I'm gonna send it to LA and Columbia and Chicago, all over the place. Because remember this morning, oh, you didn't, we had a meeting
I
this
haven't
morning.
shaved. I'm not going to shave until January 20th.
Why?
It's my Christmas scrub.
Well, look at that. I'm
yeah.
focusing in on your beard there, guy.
All right.
Okay,
See
cool.
the scar I have here? I'm proud of that. I got that in a bailing bucket in a
Whitewater rafting trip?
whitewater rafting trip because
In
I
West
don't
Virginia?
know how to whitewater raft. I'm a klutz.
Oh, hold on.
Don't you dare.
Special appearance. Dave Huffman.
Where's this going?
Dave Huffman, LA, Chicago, Columbia. Dave,
I don't want to talk to those people.
come on.
What?
Come on. Tell us about your day. How are you doing?
Geez, my day's like every other day that I have here. Played with hardware a little bit, played with software a little bit, fixed a few problems with on-site, talked to a few clients, played a game or two on the computer, and now I'm going to go teach somebody something.
Cool. And
So-
I think I see Curtis stealing into my office. Curtis, exactly what are you doing there, mister?
Stealing candy. Hey, I have candy if I want to.
Curtis, stealing candy. Oh, let's take a look at my little nativity scene here. Curtis, move your arm, please. The
Who's this
nativity
for?
scene. I'm going to send it to Columbia and to Chicago and to LA. Pretty little nativity scene. Don't look at my messy desk. Another little Christmas scene. Okay, we're going to continue our little walk. Okay, hi, Chris.
Yet
Where are you
enshrined
heading?
in infamy. I'm going to get something to eat. I'm very hungry. I haven't had lunch yet. I was waiting for Paul and Tom to come back, so now
Where are you going to eat?
I want to know when are we going to get a video cassette from the other offices.
That's a very good question.
I've never seen most of these people.
You haven't?
Kelly.
Didn't you just get back from LA?
Well, LA people I've seen, and
But
I've
not
seen
Chicago?
some of the people from Chicago, but never from any of the other offices.
Okay, great. I'll make sure that we get one. Have
Great
a good lunch.
idea, huh? That's
Have
why
a good
that's why
lunch.
they pay me the big bucks, because I come up with the good ideas.
What, like videotaping?
Exactly.
Who has a video camera in their hand?
I'm talking about videotaping the other offices.
Oh.
Twist. You know, this is 10 minutes after that you saw me on it before.
Charlie, don't try
behind me.
Don't try to hide behind Curtis. There's not enough there to hide behind.
I wanted to see this anyway.
These two are the goof-off twins, that's all. These are the goof-off
No,
twins.
we're not the goof-off twins. That's a
Nobody looks
goof-off
really
right
good
there.
No, look, Kelly. Kelly looks good.
It looks all blotty.
Kelly does not look blotty.
Blotty. It does too.
Watch it, guy. You watch.
It's just because of the angle.
Or we splatter you.
Tickle him. Tickle him. Tickle him.
Have it at the right
Charlie.
angle, looks fine.
Look, man, we're
Just if
sending
you're
this
at
to
an angle.
eligible women.
Yeah, it does,
You better
yeah.
put that down.
If you're at an angle.
We're sending this to eligible women.
Hi, Val.
You show your
Don't.
teeth.
That's not funny.
You guys.
Good. Don't feel good. I'll eat your camera. Ah!
Who are you going to give this to?
There's Charlie.
Who are you going
Oh,
to give this
shit.
to?
Oh,
You made
wait.
me go to the wrong machine. I don't want to
Just to put your change back. Push change. Hey, Valerie. They want to know what you look like in Columbia, so... Okay, this is Val as we love her. Look.
Who are you going to give this to?
This is Val with bunny ears.
Valerie, that is really attractive.
I'll give it to
I'm an attractive kind of person, especially on the phone.
We know. Okay, we're continuing our walk. There's Brian's workstation. He's not here. Don't know where he is. MIA. Here's Brian's second workstation. He has too much stuff.
You're not
Hi,
that
Brian.
far. I'm right there.
Why?
Look, though, I'm using the shopping center directory.
Are you gonna buy a new shopping center?
Yes, I'm doing research right now. I'm going to buy a shopping center for $1 million and sell it for $2 million.
That's a good way to do it.
And then I'm going to
I
retire.
appreciate it very much.
Well, it's a very pretty book.
It is. It's
It goes well with your sweater.
if your car breaks down, you can set it out in the road, and no one will hit you. If if you're hunting, you can wear one on the front and one on the back.
So that
you
you're
won't
not...
get shot. Very good. Has many uses. What is this for?
We're going to send it to the other offices. Bye, Brian.
Hi, guys, in other offices.
Curtis ate all the candy.
Malia, are you not feeling well? Okay, so we won't record you.
Where'd you get that? No, sir. He's holding candy that he got out of your office.
Jeff, how are you today?
Good.
You made a lot of sales?
Yes.
Yeah? Today?
No.
How about you, Curtis?
What?
You made a lot of sales today?
Oh, no, I made one. Mug shot.
Hey, quit it.
Zoom in on that. Ew.
That goatee.
Oh, God. I know, I need your shave.
Okay, take me on a tour, Curtis. Here, walk with me. Malia doesn't want to be on the camera today. There's production. There's Diane. Steve working hard and furiously.
Put it away.
Okay. But that's, I mean, Tom wants that.
Rich.
You like having a camcorder like that? That's
Yeah.
pretty cool, isn't it? See, like I'm a star. I'm on video. Yeah, I can see you in my glasses.
Here. Let's walk to Carfax.
You
Shelves
don't
with the
need
copier.
to talk like a robot. Randy Summerman. Hey, Rich. What flakes are you sending me? Jesus Christ. Enough flakes to last you a lifetime.
Here, flake number 1. Steve Rosenfeld. Hi, Tammy.
Come on, tell us about the flakes.
Steve Rosenfeld, guy from New York. Hey, you want to make money? I'll make you money. Hi. Yeah.
You like that guy?
Yeah, Barry Weissman. Rosenfeld, Weissman. There's a
Yeah,
there's a thing going on around
You should
here.
be getting along
These
just
guys
well
are
with
great.
them.
So this guy says, are these current customers?
Yeah.
This guy is absolutely outselling it to other people. I wonder what his usage is.
Which one, Weissman?
Yeah, he says, I got it at 900 number I want to use.
Weissman or which one? Weissman or the,
A 900 Carfax?
Yeah, well, he says,
Or
I want to do 1-900 Carfax.
That's Steve.
Yeah, that's Steve. He wants to do that.
Yeah,
And he says other people are doing it. I said, who's doing it?
He's probably talking about TML.
TML. Oh, I got something on TML.
Hi, Randy.
We need to work this out when we're not pressed for time and when we're not getting ready to do a sale.
There's RB.
Because Preston is here from 8 in the morning till 5, Monday through Friday. And of course, we're in the Houston time zone, so that means 7 to 4 Central. Hey, how you doing?
Special guest appearance
What is
by
that?
Daryl.
See that for the Columbia staff. Go on.
Daryl, say hi to the Columbia staff.
Hi, Columbia staff. Good seeing you again.
Let's see your suit there, man.
Oh, man, we're in the desk.
Wow.
He's giving me a lead for a car dealer he was just
And do you
gonna
do you have any pictures of the new baby?
In the car.
Why didn't you bring them in?
And things was in my briefcase. Didn't bring my briefcase. Hey, Curtis. Hey.
So who else can you get us, Daryl?
I'm really sorry that I busted in here.
Daryl and I are starting a little side deal. He's gonna, every time he's out installing CVR, he's gonna call me with the dealer name, and he just happens to say, I used to work at Carfax, you know.
Do we still have any business cards for Daryl?
We could probably get him some. Auto buying service.
Sure, they're right there. I was
Top
there,
all autos, I guess, yeah.
there last week talking to them.
So do you think we're gonna get something from it?
They're already customers.
They're already
Oh.
customer now. But who else can you get me? Yeah.
There's a sales board.
So we'll see what we can do to help.
It's only the 7th of the month, so it's not that bad. There's Mikey's workstation. It's not there. Don't know where he is. Curtis.
Okay.
He's in with Randy now.
That time, I'll call you right back and we'll shoot for another time. But I think he'll be here. I think he can be here then.
Look at all the decorations.
Okay.
How do you like it?
All righty.
I'm showing all the decorations.
Yeah, but how do you like the camera?
I love it, look.
When I watched you
I'm zooming in.
It's so much nicer than
run one time.
than having a.
Yeah.
You're pretty tall. You know that?
You ever not noticed
No, I
that?
never noticed
I
that.
was actually on the phone.
No, how tall are you? 6 feet?
No,
And I'm just wondering if maybe
more in
And what
action.
is your name?
telephone line and modem.
I apologize, George. Do you have that VIN so I can pull that up for you? The VIN handy so I can try to pull it up?
Kevin, what is? You on the phone, man? Wow, you're hard at work there, huh?
Oh.
This is Kevin Woody.
Who's this going to?
Columbia, and
Don't show my desk.
I'm only showing them your call log there.
Okay.
Is that an application? That's an application.
That's an application.
So you got one in?
No.
Oh, you're working on a customer account.
Working on a customer account.
Ooh, that coffee smells good.
Thank you.
Yeah, where did you snag that from? I've been drinking this stuff.
Where's Tony?
Hi, guys.
I'll share with you tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, where is that? I want some.
I bring it in my little thermos.
Yeah, I'm
Keep
booked
it
on
thermos.
All day long.
I'm hooked on this stuff. On the weekends, I make it. That guy? I walked him through. Everything seems fine. I think that he's either got some static between his gym and his...
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, let me look at my fax machine over there. There's something going through right now, but I'm going to put your report through next, okay? I don't know why it didn't go through. There's a chance that someone didn't pull it off a printer. I'm not real sure, but we'll get it taken care of for you. Okay, I apologize again about the delay. Bye-bye now.
Laura, way to go!
RV, McCall Park on 01.
Oh, as your face is turning red. Yes. Excuse me.
Or is it Curly, Larry, and Mo? Instead of Curly, Larry, and Mo. Right there. You see those three?
Randy, instead of faxing the information out to my customers, I'm just going to give it to you, so when you go to that area of the country, you can take it flying. That'll be quicker. It'll be a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Mikey, why would you say that?
Huh?
Why would you say that? Are we having problems getting things faxed
I
out?
don't want this to be on
It
tape
already
here.
is on tape, pal.
I want a fax machine in my office.
And we have here
I want an office.
Mike Cowbell.
Please conduct it. Oh, as
I got business to do here.
good. I'm glad one of us does. There's a picture of Preston. Or is that Jeff? Oh, that's Preston. This is Jeff's beautiful workstation. Look how clean he keeps that.
Just clean it up to the side. Get the poem in there. Get
Oh,
the bottom. You might have to steep down.
the Jeff poem. Oh wait, it's going away. I am salesman. My name is Jeff. I can't spell my name. Oh, how come it's doing that? I can't spell. Wait, I can't spell my name. It's missing an F. I can't sell my product by my own admission. I live in the gutter because I don't get commission.
Preston wrote that because he doesn't do anything around here besides goof off.
Besides irritate Jeff.
Besides irritate Jeff.
And people think we're not productive here. Preston, would you like to make a cameo appearance?
Is this for Columbia?
Columbia.
Hi,
Anything you'd like? Well, we're also sending it to Chicago and LA.
That's Preston. He does.
I haven't met them yet, so I don't know what to say to them.
Well, you can just say hi.
Hello.
That's Preston. Thank you for the cameo appearance there.
Yeah, the camera's broken now.
Where's Kristen?
I just tried to send it back to you in a second.
And neither both of these phone numbers came in
Oh,
were invalid.
Smile, you're on candid camera.
Bad hair day.
Oh, it's a good hair day. Come on. These are the two new mothers, right?
Yes.
How old is your baby?
8 months.
And how old is your baby?
8 months?
They're like 3 days apart.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta get my call. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Where's Greg's workstation?
Today, the program that we're going to speak about is a retirement savings plan, which means as we talk about the plan, keep in mind that you're not saving money in this plan to go on vacation or to buy a car, to just really dip into this account at any time. This is strictly a retirement savings program. Excuse me. Which means that you will be saving money for your retirement. Well, why is that important to you? Well, think about retirement at the present time. What is going to make up your retirement income? The first thing that comes to mind is Social Security. Well, look at Social Security. You hear different reports on it every single day. Either the system's going to be bankrupt in the year 2010, it may be there but at a reduced form. We're hearing all different reports. Now most of us will not even start receiving Social Security until we reach age 68. Who's to say that that age may not bump until age 70? So what you have to keep in mind is that Social Security is not something that we can depend upon for our retirement funding. We need to take a look at our own savings, and we need to save adequately for our retirement. Well, how do you do that? How much do you need? These are always pretty big questions that you think about when you're looking at what do I do for retirement. How much do you need? Statistics are telling us that you need to replace approximately 80% of your pre-retirement income for each year that you've worked. So if you're making $10,000 a year, you need to replace $8,000 of that income. When you come to retirement, you're going to need to replace that amount over a course of 20 years. So that would be $8,000 for every $10,000 that you make over a course of 20 years of retirement. That can be an awful lot of money. How do you possibly get to that point? You can do that through your 401k plan. Your 401k will let you save money for the purpose of retirement on a tax-deferred basis. And what that means is the portion that you set aside and put into your 401k is taken out prior to any state or federal taxes being assessed. That means that that portion which is available to the state and to the IRS as taxable income will be reduced by the amount you set aside in the plan. So the more you set aside, the more substantial your tax savings are. What I'd like to do at this time is talk about the specific provisions in the Blackburn plan, and if you'll all open up your packages, on the left-hand side we have a summary of the various provisions of your plan. And the first thing we want to address is eligibility, because you do need to meet certain requirements before you can begin your participation in the plan. And those requirements are simply you need to be at least 18 years of age, and you need to have completed 1 year of service with the company, in which, in that 1 year time frame, you gave over at least 1,000 or more hours of service. Once you have completed those requirements, you can begin your participation on any January 1 or any July 1. And so with January just being around the corner, that is your opportunity to begin participating. When you look at how much you can put into the plan, you can put in anywhere from as little as 1% of your pay all the way up to 15% of your pay. You determine the percentage that is most comfortable for you. Keep in mind that when you're looking at how much you can put in the plan, you are able to change that amount. You can change how much you're putting in the plan on any January 1 or July 1. In addition to that, if at any time you just need to drop out and take a break from participating in the plan, you can do that as well.
Thanks.
So the thing to remember is as your financial situation is changing, you can have your 401k program change with you. In addition to what you're putting into the plan, Blackburn Marketing will come in and make a matching contribution on your money. And what they will do is up to 6% of your pay, and they will put 33 cents on every dollar in. So it's a 33% match of the first 6% of pay that you defer. You put in $1, Blackburn comes in and puts in 33 cents on that dollar. Keep in mind that your match will be made at the end of your plan year, and they're going to...
We make it every month.
Oh, you make it every month? Okay, then we do have a discrepancy.
When do we have a call parked on 102?
That match will be made every year that you come in, every month that money is sent up to principal, your money goes, and also the Blackburn marketing match goes with that. So you see those two deposits being made into your account. Again, they're matching up to 6% at 33% of that. Keep in mind, employers do not have to make a match. It is a choice that an employer makes. So when they're putting that free money on the table, always tell employees, take full advantage of that. It's like a winning lottery ticket. If that ticket were worth $100, if it were worth $1 million, you would still be cashing it in. So why are you walking away from the free money that's sitting on the table from your employer? Get that going into your account. Take advantage of it. We said that you have two pieces of money that go into your account each time. You have your piece of money, and then you have the contribution from Blackburn Marketing. When we look at this money, we talk about vesting. And vesting just simply discusses the ownership of that money in your 401k account. Any money that you put into your plan from your payroll deferrals and any interest that those deferrals earn is completely 100% vested. What we mean by that is that you own that money at 100%. Blackburn, on the other hand, is sending money up to principal, and you become 100% vested in that money once you have given so many years of service. So the more service you give to the company, the more you're rewarded with vesting in their piece of the money that they've been sticking into your account. The vesting schedule is listed on the left-hand side of your page, and it shows if you have less than a year of service with the company, then you're vested at 0%. But once you complete 1 year of service, and we're talking vesting service, then now you've become vested in 20% of the money that Blackburn has put into your account. After 2 years, you're vested at 40%, 3 years is 60%, 4 years is 80%, and after 5 years of service, you're fully vested at 100%. Keep in mind that vesting begins on your date of service. And to earn a year vesting credit, we look at a 12-month period, which is a calendar year, January 1 to December 31st. And if you've put in 1,000 hours or more of service during that calendar year, you're accredited as of December 31st with a year of vesting. So when you're trying to figure out how much vesting will you have, look at each calendar year in which you worked for the company, determine if you've given 1,000 hours of service, and if you have, that represents a year of vesting credit. What questions do you have? Yes?
The investment schedule, can that be changed?
It would have to be an amendment to the plan document, but yes, it can be changed.
So in other words, if you invested at 100% in 5 years, you could change to 7 or 3 or whatever, depending on what's decided with Blackburn.
They can make changes, but there are also provisions in there to protect people that may be fully vested. And what ends up happening is if they change that vesting schedule, they can never divest someone, which means you can't lose any vesting where you're already at. Also, if you've been in the plan over 3 years, then what happens is you get to choose the old schedule or the new schedule, which you prefer. So there are protective provisions in there for you if they make changes in that nature. Next picture we want to take a look at are the investments that you have available to you. And you've been putting your money into the plan. Blackburn has been making that matching contribution, and all this money goes to principal. Well, what happens to it once it reaches principal? At that time, we take the money and we allocate it among the different investments that you tell us to. Under your 401k program, you have approximately 13 different investments to select from. What can happen here is you can diversify your money among any or all of these various investments. Now, investing is very simple. You don't have to be a financial planner to be able to invest in a good, solid manner. A couple things that you need to know. Number one, when you're talking about investing, you always hear the term risk. This investment has this much risk associated with it. Keep in mind that when you're talking about risk, risk is simply an indicator for what your earning potential is. The greater the risk that you're taking on an investment, typically the greater the return or earning potential you'll see for your money. So there's a price that you pay to have those higher earning potentials. In your own 401k plan, you have a well-diversified set of options to choose from. So some of these investments will have more risk associated with them. Some of the investments will not have as great of amount of risk associated with them. The second thing to keep in mind is that you want your money to grow and outpace inflation. So if inflation is running at 3%, you certainly don't want your money earning just 3% or less than 3%. You want to be able to keep up with inflation and then have some additional earnings on that money. Because remember, you're investing over the long haul. You're putting your money in today, and that money will sit in your 401k plan earning interest for maybe 10 years, 20, 30, 40 years in some cases, until you reach retirement. So you need to see growth on that money. The last item you need to be aware of when investing are the types of investments. Well, really, there's only two things you can do with your money when you invest it. You either take that money and you lend it into the market, or you take that money and you purchase items with it. You become an owner. That in its most simplistic form is what you'll be doing with your money under the plan. You'll be taking some of it and lending it. You'll be taking some of it and purchasing with it. The thing to keep in mind is that when you lend that money out into the market, those loans are typically for periods of 7 to 10 years. So what happens there is you've lent out your principal amount. That amount's going to be paid back to you over the course of maybe 7 to 10 years. And in addition to that, interest will be paid on top of it. So for that piece of money, you typically know what you're going to get back and what your interest earnings are going to be. But for that piece of money that you take and invest in an ownership type of investment, let's say a stock of a company, you don't necessarily know in the next 7 to 10 years what the value of that company is going to be. It may increase or it may decrease. Well, over the course of that time, your investment in that company is also going to increase and decrease. So you can't necessarily predict what your investment is going to be on a day-to-day basis with regard to the ownership position. But at the same time, look at $2, one invested in a lending situation, one invested in an ownership situation. Over the course of 7 to 10 years, which dollar do you think earns more, has greater growth? The one invested in the ownership position. There's more risk involved there, but there's also greater earning potential. And that's what you need to apply to your 401k plan. You can invest however you're most comfortable with, but keep those three basic items, risk versus your rate of return, inflation at 3%, and the two different types of investments in mind when you're looking at where to put your money in your plan. What I'd like to do at this time is go through each of the individual investments themselves and give you a brief summary of them. And in your packet on the left-hand side, you have an investment result sheet. This will go through and give you the results of the investments over the last 5 years, as well as what the investments were crediting as of Monday. The first investment that you have is under your conservative account, and this is your guaranteed interest account. Your guaranteed interest account is simply where you are depositing your money into this account. The money is locking into the interest rate that is being credited on that given day, and that piece of money will earn that interest rate for the remainder of that calendar year, and in the event you're in the 3-year account, for the next 2 calendar years. So for example, you'll begin making your deposits in 1996. Throughout 1996, as Blackburn is sending your money to principal, the money will be deposited into the guaranteed account and lock into the interest rate that is being credited. Well, you have a potential for 12 different deposits to occur throughout 1996, which means a potential for 12 different interest rates on each piece of money. To track each piece of money at each different interest rate can become tedious for you. So what Principal has done is we take each piece of money and we calculate it out to its maturity at that given interest rate. And then we look at maturity, we look at what you put in, your earnings, and we bring that through an average interest rate calculation down from 12 different interest rates to reflect one different interest rate that takes into account all the interest rates that you've locked into. That interest rate is what will show on your statement. But how we arrived at that rate is actually calculating your money out until maturity at the interest rate that it locked into. Now your guaranteed account is going to work very similar to a certificate of deposit. The difference here is that in the event that you pull out of a CD, you always have a penalty imposed. With your guaranteed account, if you pull out prior to maturity, there may or may not be a penalty assessed. And what occurs is we look at the interest rate that your money is locked into, and we look at the interest rate that the account is crediting. If the account is crediting a rate that is equal to or less than what your money is earning, we waive the penalty. If the account is crediting a rate that is higher than what your money is earning, then a market value adjustment or penalty is assessed on the money that you're pulling out. Keep in mind, this is pulling out before your 3 or 5 year maturity period. When that money comes out, the penalty consists of 3 factors. And the first is looking at the difference between your rate and the rate the account was crediting, taking that and multiplying it by how much you're pulling out of the account, and multiplying that by how much time was left until that money would have matured. And that's going to give you the market value adjustment on your guaranteed account. Keep in mind this is the only investment option that has such a penalty attached to it. And it's really, you're going and contracting to have your money there for either 3 years or 5 years. So if you pull out before maturity, you've almost broken that contract. What questions do you have on the guaranteed account? Okay, the next investment you have is your money market account. Money market is a very stable type of investment. It consists of short-term investments that have durations of 30 to 60 days. So as a result of that, you're not going to see as much fluctuation with the interest rate on this account that you will in some of the others. Also as a result, you see that this is a short-term investment account. Many of the other investments we're going to talk about have investments which will be out there for 7 to 10 years, not turning around or not maturing every 30 to 60 days. So you do have a lower earning potential in your money market account than you do in some of the other investments. But at the same time now, you have lower risk involved in this particular account. The next set of investments takes us into the moderate account. And, excuse me, with your moderate account, the first 2 there are a government securities account and a bond and mortgage account. And this is simply where your money is being taken and lent out into the market. Now in your government securities account, the money is being lent out to the U.S. government, and then the U.S. government is taking that money and lending it. Typically these loans are home loans. There's some student loans in this particular account. So they're typically what you hear called Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Sallie Mae, things of that nature. The lending of your money to the U.S. government is backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. But keep in mind the interest that you earn on that loan or in that government security is not backed by the U.S. government. You also have the bond and mortgage account, where again your money is being lent out into the market. But here it's principal that's determining who to lend that money to. And most of the bonds that we place in this account are privately placed, high-quality corporate bonds, which means corporations are coming to principal, they're asking us for money, we determine if they're credit-worthy, if they're a good risk, and if we assess them to be, if we lend this money out to them, and over the course of the next several years they'll pay back the money, as well as pay back interest on top of that. You also have publicly traded bonds in this particular account. And typically bonds are graded A, B, C, and what happens in this account is that principal's publicly traded bonds will not fall below a B grade. So it's a medium to high quality type of or grade of bond. Your mortgages here consist primarily of commercial mortgages, but you will at times see some residential mortgages comprised or making up a portion of this account. In your government securities account and your bond and mortgage account, the rates that these accounts are returning typically are doing the opposite of what market rates are doing. So as you hear the feds are going to increase interest rates, that typically means that you'll see a drop in what your bond rates and your government security rates are doing. And when you hear that the feds are going to lower interest rates, that typically means it's the time when bond rates and the rates on government securities will begin to increase. Those two factors work in opposition of one another. What I'd like to do at this time is skip over the bond emphasis and the stock emphasis balanced accounts and go into the dynamic account. But before we do that, what questions do you have? Okay, then in our dynamic account, quiet group here.
I got a question.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to skip over the stock emphasis balance account. I was sort of interested in that one, so if you can, are you going to get back to it?
I am.
All
I'm
right.
going to wrap up because of their uniqueness. The dynamic accounts basically are all equity accounts, which means when you're investing your money in any of these investments, your money is being used to purchase. So you're taking an ownership stance with how you're investing your dollars. Now the first account we have there is your real estate account. And this is simply a portfolio of various properties, properties that consist of warehouses, low-rise office buildings, and strip shopping centers that principal owns. And as the value of those properties increase or decrease, so too does your investment. With the real estate account, the thing to remember here is that real estate follows the trend of the economy. And when our economy is on an upward swing, you'll see real estate following that. When the economy is on a downward swing, real estate is right there. In the past couple years, the economy itself has been depressed, and we've seen a great depression in the real estate market. Now as the economy has started to go up, we're seeing a turnaround in the real estate account. But typically, you can use the economy as an indicator for what the real estate market will be doing. The next couple investments we're going to talk about are all stock accounts. And these simply consist of the stocks of various companies which are pooled together. And when you look at the stock accounts that you have to choose from, keep in mind that you're not going to be saying, I want my money in ABC company stock. When you're talking about the different accounts available, it's going to be where you're looking at the theme or the characteristics of all the companies in the stock and determining if that characteristic is going to be a good type of investment for that particular market. For example, let's look at the value stock account. In your value stock account, this is simply where the investment manager is out there looking for those companies that have undervalued or in which their stock is undervalued in the market when you're comparing it to the actual company. You have a company that still is valuable, it has high capitalization, it's still profitable, it may still be returning dividends, but for whatever reason, it's out of favor with investors at the present time, and as a result, the price of its stock is at a bargain. So the investment manager can go in, purchase that bargain price stock, hold it until they feel it's met its true value in the market, and sell it out at that time when it's full price. It's like buying certain companies on sale. The thing to remember here is that those companies can increase or decrease in value all throughout the time that we're holding their stock. So that increase or that decrease is going to show in terms of what you earn in this particular account. Also with your value stock account, you'll find that this account typically does not hold more than 35 different company stocks. There's just not a lot of stocks that fit into or a lot of companies that fit into the criteria that our investment manager is using for the value stock. Your stock index account, that's just simply a duplication of the Standard & Poor's 500. And what Principal is doing is it's looking at the S&P 500 index, and we are attempting to duplicate that as closely as we possibly can. Your S&P 500 index is typically an indicator of what the market is doing overall. And we've done something very similar to the S&P 500. That's our U.S. stock account, which is your next option. But here we've taken it from the index, which has 500 companies, and narrowed that down into 150 different companies. And we're going to pull a bunch of different philosophies all together into this account. So you'll see companies that have different characteristics. There's different philosophies of investing in this particular account, because its goal is simply to outperform the stock index. Since the S&P 500 is your benchmark for the U.S. market, this account is there to attempt to outperform it. Now, we're typically outperforming the S&P 500 70% of the time. The remaining 30% of the time, we see that the S&P 500 is either running neck and neck with this account or it has outperformed it. Your growth stock and your small company stock are very similar in nature, because here, these two accounts are both looking for which companies are experiencing rapid growth. And then of those companies that are experiencing rapid growth, it's taking those that have greater than $1 billion in capitalization and moving them into the growth stock account, and those companies that have less than $1 billion in capitalization and putting those in the small company stock account. Now, the difference in growth versus small companies, there's two items. Number one, large companies tend to grow at a more even-keeled, steady pace. A small company is really out there beginning to establish itself, maybe just having found its niche in the market. So you're going to see rapid or more rapid growth in a small company than what you would in a large company. Also, your risk increases in a small company, simply because the amount of product line that this company may have to depend on has decreased. So if something is not received well by consumers, if something occurs with the company itself, that can have some major impact on what's happening. Whereas if you have an IBM that's out there in the market and something is not received well by consumers, it's going to have impact on IBM, but they have various other divisions and various other products that can compensate for that. So you don't have as much risk in a growth stock as what you would in a small company stock. And then last but not least, you have your international stock account. And your international stock account simply takes you outside of the U.S. market and allows you to invest in foreign markets. Many of the companies are located along the Pacific Rim. They're located in Europe, Australia, Canada, South America, as well as several other countries. What this account allows you to do is, as these companies grow and develop within their countries, that growth can be reflected in earnings on your investment. The international stock account by far has the greatest amount of risk associated with it. And that's simply because now you're outside of the U.S. market, you're in some developing countries, so that's going to place a greater amount of risk on your investment. And then secondly, you want to look at how valuable is the dollar when you're comparing it to foreign currency. The value or the strength of the dollar will ultimately have impact in your international stock account and how your investment is performing. What questions do you have on the dynamic account?
How often are new companies added or taken out of each fund?
It could happen on a daily basis. Our investment managers are constantly managing the funds. We print what we've done in the accounts on a quarterly basis, so that if we've changed any of the themes in the account, or if we've changed the companies, we're showing you a mix of your new companies.
So we get a printout quarterly of the companies in each fund?
What we do is we typically send out a briefly to the company itself, and the briefly shows the major purchases and major trades in that particular fund on that given quarter, and then it goes through and it lists out the themes. Now, if you want to know the specific companies that each account is made up of, we can provide that too.
Okay.
Are you receiving that, Tammy?
Yes.
Briefly? Any other questions on your dynamic account? Well, we'll jump back into the moderate accounts, to that bond emphasis and stock emphasis balanced account, and close the investment portion with these. The reason I'd like to save these two for the last is because in all the other investments we've talked about, Each time you put your money into that type of investment, it's going to do only one thing. It's either going to be used and lent out into the market, or it's going to be used to purchase and take an ownership stance. Well, what your emphasis balanced accounts do is they let your money be mixed. When you put your money into either of these two accounts, a portion goes and is lent out or invested in bonds, and a portion goes and is invested in an ownership situation, such as purchasing stocks or purchasing real estate. In your bond emphasis balanced account, the majority of funds are going to be invested in bonds. And what happens here is for every dollar that you put into the account, 67 cents of that dollar is taken and invested in bonds. So it's in a lending type of investment. The remaining 33 cents of that dollar is taken and invested in stocks and real estate, so an equity type of investment. In your stock emphasis balanced account, just the opposite happens. Here, for every dollar that you're putting in, 67 cents is taken and invested in equities, stocks, real estate. The remaining 33 cents of that dollar is invested in bonds on a lending situation. We've talked about 13 different investments. All of them are available for you to diversify within. The maximum amount of these investments that you could use is 12 though. So you would not be able to diversify throughout all 13. You can make changes to where you're invested, and you can change your investment mix monthly,
The investment mix, I think you can change at any time.
daily.
Right.
We have
Conflict.
of it.
Right.
I think it should be daily, using the teletouch number. Okay, use the 1-800 number. This is a great number for you. We call it teletouch. And once you're enrolled in the plan, we'll send out a letter to you, and that letter will give you the 800 number. It will also give you a personal identification number. You simply call into this number, plug in your 4-digit number, and it takes you directly into your account. So now you can get information on your account balances, where you're invested, how much you're earning. If you want to find out how the investments are performing, you can do that or listen to that. And then in addition, if you want to make changes as to where your money is invested, excuse me, you can simply go into another or prompt into another section of teletouch and make changes in where your money is being invested. You can change your investment mix on a daily basis. So as long as you're calling in by 3 o'clock on any business day, the change to where your money is invested occurs that same day. If you call in after 3 o'clock, then at that time the change would occur on the next business day. This gives you as much flexibility as you possibly may need with regard to where your money is invested. What questions do you have?
Is there a charge to do that over the phone?
There is no charge to change where your money is being invested at over the phone. The only thing to remember is that when you are changing in and out of investments, market timing will affect what your investment has done. And if you're pulling out of the guaranteed account before maturity, remember that that market value adjustment may appear. So if you want to move money out of the guaranteed account, but you don't want to get that market value adjustment, you can actually prompt out to an operator, and the individual will go and look at your account and determine if the market value adjustment would be assessed or not. But there's no specific fees charged for moving in and out of the investment.
So that, those are the only two that you have to be very careful with, the guarantee.
Right, the 3 and the 5. If you're moving out before maturity, you may see a penalty. Any other questions? Okay, well let's take a look at withdrawing money from your account. With regard to withdrawals, the thing to remember here is that the reason you're saving in your 401k is for retirement. So if you go all throughout your working years, and each time you want to take money out, you go into your 401k and take this out, when you come to retirement, you've depleted your retirement savings plan. So it's really not in your best interest to go into this plan and want to be taking money out. In order to even get into the plan, there has to be a certain set event. And the IRS defines when we can go into our 401k plans and take money out for retirement. When we're employed with our companies, we are able to go in and take money out through a financial hardship. And a hardship withdrawal is simply what the IRS states as the very last resort. We have exhausted all other avenues of financial aid. We have to prove that we're in a severe and immediate need of financial assistance, and this is it. When we go to take that money out of our plan, we can only take out as much as we need, and when that money comes out, it can only be used for 4 items. And that's if we're purchasing a primary residence, if we're stopping the foreclosure or eviction from our primary residence, if we are going to pay for tuition for ourselves or a dependent, or if we need to pay off any unreimbursable medical expenses, we can take this hardship. Keep in mind when the hardship comes out, this money is being distributed to you prior to retirement. So as a result of that, it is now subject to federal and state taxes. It is also subject to a 10% IRS early withdrawal charge. So there's a lot of incentive to not be putting or taking your money out in the form of a hardship.
Now, is that subject automatically right away?
Correct.
Is there any way, like, say, you were going to withdraw some for tuition for your kids, right? And then you paid it back before the year was out. Is there any provision for that?
No, with the hardship, you can't take money out and then put it back in. Once that money comes out of your plan, it cannot be put back in. You can't pay yourself back.
All right.
Any other questions? Should you pass away before you reach retirement, your money is paid out to your named beneficiary. Should you become disabled before retirement, then the money is paid out to you. And we would use the Social Security Administration's definition of disability. Again, when this money is coming out of your plan, it is considered taxable income, so those amounts are subject to both federal and state taxes. Also, in the event that you leave Blackburn Marketing prior to reaching your retirement, at that time, the money that you saved in your 401k plan could move with you, or you could continue having it saved with principal. And there's a couple different vehicles that you have available to use that will avoid this money from being taxed or penalized. And what occurs is if you terminate, you can just leave your money with principal in a personal retirement account. The investments that we spoke of would still be made available to you. You could transfer in and out of them daily. You'll receive statements from principal. You retain many of those same services. That's your first option. Your second option is you could move your money to your new employer if they're offering you a 401k. Or your third option is you could simply go to any bank in the area and open up a rollover or conduit IRA. And these are special IRAs for money from a 401k plan. Using any one of those 3 vehicles keeps your money saving for retirement, and as a result, the IRS cannot come in and tax that money, nor can the state, and no penalties for early withdrawal can be assessed on that. But when you do terminate your employment prior to reaching retirement, this is the one time that the IRS opens the door to your 401k plan and says you can go in and take out all of that money if you'd like to, and use it for purposes other than retirement. If you cash out your account when you terminate employment prior to retirement, the money coming out is subject to federal taxes, subject to state taxes, and if you're under age 55 and having terminated, subject to the 10% IRS early withdrawal charge. So again, there's a lot of incentive that just as we go through our working years, if we are changing employers, to still keep what we've set aside for retirement savings being utilized as retirement savings, not going and cashing out our account every time that we change employers. The big event, of course, yes?
Is there, like, do you have to wait till the first of the year or anything like that to get your money out or change it over?
Typically what happens is within 60 days of your date of termination, you need to have done something with the money in your account.
Okay.
Yes?
What is the length of time if you do have a financial hardship from the point you requested it to the time you got the money?
Typically we see about 2 to 3 weeks for processing from the time it's requested. Now we could speed that up if necessary. But that's typically the amount of time that's needed for paperwork. For the hardship, the 10% penalty is enforced from 59.5 on down. With termination of employment, that 10% penalty is enforced from 55 down. So you did hear two different ages. It gets a little confusing there. Any other questions? Well, the big event is retirement. And that's the reason that we're saving in this plan. When we do reach retirement, all that money that we've set aside can be taken out in either a lump sum, or we can annuitize and have a monthly payment made out to us. In either of those two events, when we reach retirement, defined as age 65, the money comes out of our plan, and whatever we receive, meaning whatever is distributed out of our plan, is subject to both federal and state taxes at the time of which we receive it. But keep in mind that the thinking is that you're only going to need 80% of your pre-retirement income. So when you reach retirement, your income should be reduced by approximately 20% and possibly have you falling into a lower tax category or tax bracket than what you had during your working years.
Just a question about that. You say 80% of pre-retirement, but like when you're sitting here trying to compute what you think you should be saving now, you could be saying 80% of my salary today,
Right.
which obviously you've got a mortgage payment, you've got other expenses. I mean, is there a formula? Is there something to say, you know, you're not going to need necessarily if your house is paid off, what have you, that 80% of today's income. How do you adjust for that? How?
It depends on if you're still married to your first wife.
Oh.
We won't get into that. I'm sure I will be.
There's a couple things that you can do with that. And have you received a diskette called Discover Retirement?
Yeah.
Perfect. There's a diskette that Principal, or a program that Principal has put together, and you can run this program taking into account will you own a house, will you not own a house, taking into account your saving in this, but you might have 3 other investments out there. Brings that into it. It looks at your entire retirement picture and everything that you're doing, and it calculates all these figures, and it comes out and shows you, are you in the red and are you in the black? Now, if you're in the black, that's great. If you're in the red, then that means that you're not spending adequately. So then you can go back in and play with some of the figures, and what you might find, the reason that they use the 80% replacement ratio is that the statistics and the studies that we have seen are saying that 80%, even if you're not paying a mortgage on your house, is what most individuals are needing to live off of. And when you look at 80%, your income today may be less than what it is at retirement. So you want to think about what is going to be your greatest earning potential. Maybe you're making $20,000 today, but in the future you say, well, I'm going to make $60,000 one of these days. So when you retire, that might be the figure that you want to use 80% off of, or whatever you feel is going to be your highest earning potential.
So Tammy, you have that diskette?
Yes.
Can we make copies?
Sure.
Yes, it's an IBM, it's compatible with IBM, so as long as you don't have a Macintosh, you're good to go. Any other questions? Okay. Well, then the last note I want to make is that you do receive statements from Principal, and these should be coming out to you on a semi-annual basis, which means in January and July 1. Shortly thereafter, about 2 weeks after those dates is when you should be receiving your report. In your packet, you have a great deal of information to just help you sort through some of the items that we discussed today. On the left-hand side, you have the Planning Your Tomorrow booklet. If you open this up, in the folder part, you have a loose sheet of paper, and each sheet represents one of the investments that we spoke of. It will go through and summarize that type of investment. You also have this retirement savings calculator, which will help you determine what your targeted savings amount should be and the percentage that you need to be saving. When you're using this, the calculator is corresponding with the chart on page 4 of the booklet. So if you look at the chart and then you look at the how to use the calculator, that will instruct you how to go through that. And then on page 10 and 11, this is where we give you 3 different types of investors. We grouped our investments into 3 categories: conservative, moderate, and dynamic. Remember we said you want to diversify where your money is at. You're spreading your risk among several different investments. You don't want to bet the bank on just one single investment. This gives you an idea or a guideline as to how to go about diversifying among those 3 different categories of investments. And we look at how long you have until retirement and how comfortable you are with risk. You can look at this and apply this to your own investments. You can look at this and say, I don't agree at all with what these guidelines are telling me. Do what you want to do with your investments. That's what your program is all about. On the right-hand side, we have some general information. The first is what is a 401k plan, and this does a great job in showing what 2 years can cost a person in their 401k. I do a lot of these meetings, and the one thing I always hear from people, and I've heard it in my own mind, well, I need to be saving my money for this. And this can be, you've just started out, so you don't have discretionary money. And then a couple years later, you're getting married. So you have to save for the wedding. Then a couple years later, you're getting ready to buy a house. So you got to save for that. Don't have time for the retirement plan yet. And then you have kids. So now you have to, provide for the children. And then, you have to go and you're ready for a new house because, it's been a couple years now. And then all of a sudden, you're right there at retirement. And you've always had all these excuses why you cannot save for retirement. And now retirement is staring you in the face, and you've not started saving for it. Don't fall into that rut. Start saving early. Save as much as you can as early on as possible. And the reason for that is the longer your money is sitting in these investments, the greater the opportunity it has to compound and to grow. In these investments, you're going to experience compounding interest. And that just simply means your interest earns interest, and that earns interest. So if you have 20 years to save versus 30 years to save, you're going to be ahead in 30 years versus 20 years of compounding interest. Get your money in as soon as possible. Let that money start compounding. At least give yourself the opportunity to try out your 401k plan. What this shows you is that individuals who are age 21 entering the plan versus individuals who are age 23 entering the plan have a difference from those 2 years of over $56,000 in their account balance. And this is putting in $1,000 a year and getting an average rate of return of 8%. Well, a 30-year-old holding off 2 years until 32, they cost themselves $28,000. A 40-year-old entering at 42, that 2 years cost $13,000. And even 50 versus entering at 52, those 2 years cost $6,000. So you really do cost yourself a lot of money by not getting your first dollars in the plan as soon as possible. The second sheet there, Start Saving Today, does a comparison between 2 individuals, Chris and Pat. And Chris puts in $1,000 from age 21 up to age 35. Pat puts in $1,000 from age 36 up to retirement. Well, Chris puts in $15,000 of his or her own money and retires off of $295,000. Pat puts in $30,000 of his or her own money and retires with $122,000. Well, why the big difference? Well, Chris's first dollar went in 15 years in advance of Pat. And that 15 years of additional compounding interest over the course of time let Chris retire with more money than Pat. Also, we use $1,000 as our example in these, and sometimes I get looks like, boy, $1,000, might be difficult to save in a year. When you're looking at saving, break down how much you want to save or you think you could save into a comfortable amount for you. $1,000 on an after-tax basis is just putting aside $4 a day, Monday through Friday, 50 weeks out of the year. not saving any $4 on Saturday or Sunday, and not saving for 2 weeks. Now, if you think about $4, the deli probably cost you $4. It's very easy to find $4 of discretionary income each day, rather than to think, well, $1,000 of discretionary income. Break it down into a small, comfortable amount. That will help you determine how much you can afford to have taken out of your budget. And always remember that we're not talking on an after-tax basis in your 401k. We're talking on a before-tax basis. So $4 is not really $4. Less than that because it's before tax. How compound interest works for you, just another piece showing you about compounding interest. And then lastly, what the principal edge means to you. This identifies who we are. The principal is basically the investment manager, the record keeper, and the administrator for your 401k plan. And then you get to your how to enroll brochure. And in this you have 2 sheets. One is an enrollment form, and one is a beneficiary form. We do need all eligible employees to complete these forms. And the first one, which is your enrollment form, we ask that you complete Section A, which asks for your name under the member name area. You can leave the ID number blank. We do need your birth date, your date of employment. If you've been rehired, we need information on that. We also need your social security number and your sex. Then we need everyone to drop down to Section B. And in Section B, this is where you determine what percentage of your salary you would like to defer into your 401k plan. Again, anywhere from 1 to 15% is allowed. Keep in mind that Blackburn is matching 6% or up to 6% of what you put into the plan. So up to 6% of your salary will be matched at 33% by Blackburn. And if you can do 6%, take full advantage of that free money that's out there on the table for you. Section C is where you determine how your money should be invested among the different options we discussed. We have 2 columns there. One is employer, and this is the money that Blackburn is putting into your account. The other column is the elective deferral, and this is the money that you're putting into your account from your own deferrals or from your own pay. Each column needs to add up to 100%. We ask that you please keep your figures in whole figures, stay away from decimals, and when you're done, just make sure those columns add up to 100. Last but not least, we need you to sign and date at the bottom, and we need you to sign at the member signature area, and then date there. We also need you to complete the beneficiary form. And on this form, under personal information, we'll need you to put Blackburn Marketing under the plan sponsor. We will need you to complete your social security number as well as the member name area. And then we need you to complete either box 1, 2, or 3. 1 is if you're married and naming your spouse. Name your spouse as beneficiary there. 2 is if you're not married. And 3 is if you are married and you want to name someone other than your spouse or in addition to your spouse. In order to do so, you need to have your spouse's consent, and that consists of getting them to sign off on the beneficiary form.
Gun in hand.
Why do you have to have your spouse's consent?
And you do have to have their signature notarized. Then, regardless of what box you chose, we need everyone to sign and date at the very bottom in the member signature area. The top 2 copies need to be turned into Tammy with the enrollment form, and the last copy you can keep for your own records. And we did have a question, why do I have to get my spouse's consent for that? In 1986, it was TRA of 1986, the Tax Reform Act, and what happened here is that there were several, stemmed out of the military, but several military personnel were having passed away, and their pensions were not being left to their spouses, but being left to other parties without the spouse ever having knowledge of this. So, these spouses were very dependent upon that income. It was not there for them, and so as a result now, as protection for the spouse, they need to give consent. And it's just another way of the IRS making our lives a little more difficult.
Another question?
Yeah, I was just going to add something I often get asked about changing the percentage of your investment. If anyone ever wants to change down to 0, you can do that at any time. Did you mention that?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
drop to 0 at any time, change 2 times a year, January and July.
You mean change a percentage of your, you can change a percentage the first of any month.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Great.
we changed that. You can
So
change,
increase
increase or
or decrease?
decrease your contribution at the first of any month.
One question that I know we've run into is we're on bonus plans here, most of us. And we saw at the end of last year, I guess, where our bonuses were also, the 401k contribution also came out of our bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way for that not to happen, or elect not to have that happen, or is that just the way the
Just
plan
change
is?
the percentage at the beginning of the month, you know you're going to get your
Yeah,
bonus.
that it was, the bonus was
Yeah, but that's the
contributed.
only
So
way
my
I
wife
can think of it.
gets bonuses
That's
in
really
hers.
how that
It's
You
optional.
often don't know what kind of bonus you're getting.
I mean, it's
until you
good
go.
because you put money in there.
You really don't need to add
But
extra money,
it
Dave.
just was
Yeah.
surprising to see that. No, I mean, I never thought they would.
You just didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah.
And it happened.
Any income.
Basically, yeah, what ends up happening is that you're allowed to defer 1 to 15% of your W-2 wages.
Mhm.
So that means whatever W-2 wages consist of,
Okay.
that percent can be deferred off of there. In your plan, your sponsor cannot say, well, we'll let you defer off of just base salary,
Okay.
but then you can change, not have deferrals off of bonus,
Okay.
because then you're excluding a portion of pay. Any other questions? When would you like the forms in by?
As soon as possible.
All right.
Back.
Well then, thank
Great.
you very much for your time.
Thanks, Sharon.
Absolute deadline.